Mental Health Week presentations. I'll be doing work-life balance today. And to start this off, I'm just going to talk about the need to take breaks. So when we're working a lot, we can find that we have a lot of strain on our bodies, a strain on our minds. And it's not really affected so much by the workload, but rather about ignoring those physical cues. So taking a break is really important to prevent burnout. And it's really easy to notice when you need a break. Maybe you start feeling a little anxious, maybe you start feeling a bit overwhelmed, or you start feeling very tired. You don't have to have very long breaks. You can break it out up over the day. So, like if you're studying for quite some time, it's really good for every hour to have a 10-minute break, for example. So, you don't have to take very, very long breaks, but if you take them very frequently, it can just help you get to a reset point. So, the other important thing about taking breaks is when you do them, you have to set time apart for yourself. And this is especially true during a meal time. You need to give your body enough time to digest your food, to get that energy back up to your brain. So, whenever you're eating, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, try to put away your devices, no phones, no thinking about work, nothing. Just think about your food, the moment, enjoy your food, and let that digestive process happen. Another interesting way of taking a break is switching the type of task that you're doing. When you engage in a different task, a different part of your brain starts working. And so the area that might be become more fatigued is now able to use more resources to rest, while another part takes over a function that you're busy with. So, for example, if you go from reading a book to playing a game, you have engaged two different aspects of your brain and allow one to rest while another gets engaged. So, there are different ways of taking breaks. You can take long breaks, you can take short breaks, you can take it doesn't even seem like it's a break, but just switching to something else can really help to prevent having burnout, and maybe also if you set boundaries over your meal times, it can prevent you from overworking and overstepping um, the work-life boundaries that you're supposed to have. So the next important one that ties into taking breaks. At the end of the day, I feel we live in a modern society. We feel that we need to be reachable all the time. When we clock out at the end of the day, we are reachable by phone call, by message, by email. And the other part of that is maybe you're feeling a little bit bored, and so you just feel the urge to keep checking your phone. And this is really, really bad for your mental health because you don't have a very good boundary of when work actually ends for yourself. So I've put it again here, but please do not work during meal times. It's the smallest boundary you can set for yourself, even if you're taking literally 5 minutes to eat. Do not work during that 5 minutes you're eating. So I know that a lot of you are studying, so it might be a bit harder to turn everything off at the end of the day when you have something to prep for, but set an end time for your study time. I understand that we like to cram and we like to go to bed as late as possible so that you can shove as much information in as possible, but that doesn't always work out in the way that you would expect it to. The more you cram, the more you forget. So if you have an end time to your study time and a start time to your study time, and you turn off all your other notifications in between, and even before then you go, I'm not checking emails after this time, I'm not having my notifications at this time, it's very, very, very good for you to do. Especially another aspect of this is when you're with family or friends. I know that there are times when you're sitting at your friend's house and you get a little bored and you want to check your notifications. It can really start to take away from your rest time when you go back into work mode when you're supposed to be spending time with loved ones. So, the best boundary you can set for yourself, and the easiest way to do this is just to turn off the notifications on your phone. Put your phone on silent, you know? You don't have to be so hard and fast with yourself. Just know that you can set limits and boundaries around these things. For myself, I was a really, really bad workaholic, and I would be even working at 2 a.m. if I couldn't sleep. So at that point, I started to learn to turn my phone off at night. So if I woke up and I look at my phone is not on. I didn't want to have to go through the hassle of turning it on again, so I would just go back to sleep. So there are different strategies that you can use for yourself. For me, at the time that I needed it, I had to turn my phone off. Now I think I'm a lot healthier. I don't really need to turn my phone off. My phone just goes on silent. Okay. Oh, and the last point I have here. If you are working from the same devices, you can't compartmentalize as well. So if you have a study laptop and a play laptop, that can really help to set a boundary for yourself from, okay, this one I'm purely working on and this one I'm purely playing on, so you don't mix the two. I know it's not always possible to have separate devices, but if you have a situation where you can, like if you're working and your job gives you a specific laptop for work, I think that's really great to only use that laptop for work. Don't log into your email on your personal laptop. Okay. All right, so now we get to more of the fun stuff. So I've got here learning the ABDs of workplace communication. When you have a work-life balance, you also have to learn a few things when it comes to interacting with people around you. I thought this was just a little fun way of remembering this as well. So the first one I have here is asking for assistance. I think there's a lot of the times when we're in a situation where we feel like we have to do absolutely everything that's assigned to us on our own. And we think that if there is a deadline, we cannot move that deadline. That's it. The world is ending if we don't meet that deadline. And we push ourselves so hard to meet all of these expectations that we feel are placed on us. But I will tell you that most of the time, not in every case, but most of the time, these deadlines can be moved. If you're studying at university, there are often ways that you can apply for an extension for certain assignments. You can speak to your professors, you can speak to your supervisors, or whatever it needs. You can move things if you absolutely need to, and don't feel like you need an emergency to move a deadline. If you feel like you're getting a bit burnt out or your stress levels are getting too high, you're not putting out the work that you really want to put out, I think it's a good idea to lean on the help that is available to you. So make yourself aware of what the policies are in your particular environment, of how you can go about getting deadlines moved, having extensions, having breaks. Maybe you don't finish one assignment and you take another extra credit assignment instead. There are always other options for managing your time that don't involve just meeting that deadline at whatever cost. You don't have to encroach on your personal time to get something done. It's far better for you to just reach out and get the extension than it is to overwork yourself, work into your free time, and put yourself in a situation of burnout. So it's really, really, really important to make yourself aware that there is a supporting structure around you. But the next part I have here is dealing with a bit of overwhelm. So you have some big task and you're not sure how to break it down, and you go home and you keep thinking about it, and it's really encroaching again into your personal life where it shouldn't be. We don't live in a vacuum. We can't just put our heads into work mode and then into not work mode. Our brains don't work like that. If we're really struggling with feelings of panic or overwhelm, anxiety, sometimes I think when you get to the workplace, then you can get these questions addressed. So if you have problems with an assignment and you think that what you're stuck on is really stupid, ask your stupid questions anyway. Most of the time, there was maybe a miscommunication, or maybe you understood it differently than what the assignment actually was, and you won't know that until you ask the questions. And for a lot of the time, when I speak to professors, they really enjoy having student engagement. I know that there are some people that don't like talking to other people, but that's the exception and not always the case. So I think just ask your questions, even if you're worried that they're silly. They can really help you to overcome the sense of overwhelm and get you on track to finishing whatever you need to do. The other part of this is that you can work with peers, people on the same level as you. You can take from what they're learning and you can incorporate it in your own. I'm not condoning plagiarism here. What I am is saying that you can combine your resources to help each other along. If there's something that you need help broken down into steps, you can ask for what they do to study. How do they break a task up into steps? Maybe there's something you would like to automate using your emails or whatever. They can help you share their system for doing something. So there are different ways to work with friends that don't involve copying. It's more just helping identify where you're stronger and where they're stronger, and you can make a solution together. And lastly, I have here, if you have someone who is supervising you, do talk to them as much as you can, um, because having a regular line of communication can help you come to them when you're really struggling. If you don't need any help in the beginning, that's fine. You can still, but I think it's still good to check in at that point. To just say, hey, everything seems to be going well. This is what I'm doing. And you can keep on track that way. So when things do get difficult later on, you don't feel scared to ask for help, because a lot of times we isolate ourselves. We think we have to do everything on our own. And then when life happens, we don't know where to go, and we have all this stress, all this fear, all this anxiety, and we think, oh, I didn't ask for anything before. Now it's going to be really awkward talking to them now, especially given how close it is to exam time. So to avoid all of that unnecessary stress, I think it's really good to just have more frequent communication from early on, so that when it gets difficult later on, you feel that you are able to ask for help. Okay. All right, this one is super important when it comes to work-life balance. Boundaries. So the first part of boundaries is to know what your responsibilities are. The other part of that is knowing what your rights are. In a lot of workplace situations, I think it's very easy for us to think about all the things we have to do and not about all the things that we are allowed to do, like taking time off, knowing how many vacation days we have, knowing how many assignments we can miss. Um, so, like, what your role is in a particular situation is a very good thing to know. And it's also really good to know what are the things that benefit you and to take advantage of those things. You don't need to save up your vacation days until the end of the year and then never use them. You don't have to have the mindset that you have to be up early every single morning and go to bed late every single night just so that you can get as much done in a day. No, that is not a good strategy. A better strategy is how to enjoy your life. So know when you can take off, know how many times you can, and take advantage, like take full advantage of all the support you can get, because ultimately it'll make you feel happier, lighter, and it'll make things so much easier. So know what you have to do, but again, take advantage of the things that are available to you. Right. So now when it comes to the other part of boundaries, which is interacting with other people, you need to be able to tell other people, I'm not available at this point. I am available at this point. So Wherever you have availability and office hours, it's very good to share those and not to communicate after those points. If you say you're only available until 2 p.m., don't reply to them at 5 p.m. Wait until it is within your office hours. I know it can be very, very, very tempting to respond to emails as soon as you see them. There are only a couple of times where I feel that you should reply as soon as you can, but for the most part, you can leave it till tomorrow. You can leave it till your work hours. So the best strategy for dealing with this is to have an automatic email go out when you receive one to say, hey, I'm not available at this point. Otherwise, like if you don't feel you need the automatic response, that's fine. Just make sure that you set the limit on yourself that you will only reply the next day within your work hours. So I put here under do not justify yourself. You do not need a reason to not work after a certain period of time. You have your work hours that you have set for yourself in order to maintain a work-life balance that is healthy. It does not need a reason to exist. Health does not need a reason. All right, and the other thing here, don't take on extra work if you feel that you can't handle it or it's really not your role to, but you feel that maybe it would make a difference or maybe it would, no. Extra work that does not fall within your specialty, that you're not getting paid for, that is not benefiting a friend of yours, or you feel is not benefiting a relationship with that you have with a friend. Just there's no reason to take on extra work that doesn't benefit you in some way. If you feel that doing this extra work gets you experience in something, by all means take it on. But if you get given extra work with no added benefit to you, you don't need to take it on for yourself. If you see that you have, let's say, you have extra courses that you can take in your spare time, and you realize that doesn't give you a lot of time to wind down at home, you don't need to take them or feel like you're obligated to take them to fill up your time. How you spend your time and enjoy your life is completely up to you. If you enjoy the courses, take them. If you don't, rather leave them. There will always be time to do something later on in life. You don't need to do it all at once right now and stress yourself and push yourself to the limit. Okay. So this is one of my favorite things to talk about. I don't have too many points. It's just a thinking point, really. There are a lot of things that you could do, but there are also a lot of things that you could just let someone else or something else do the work for. I'll go back again to the automatic responders on the email. You don't have to send an email yourself. You can have something automated that sends for you. A lot of times, I think we want to do absolutely everything ourselves, so we don't like giving tasks to someone else. If you're in a group project, I think delegation is very easy to talk about. So I'll just use that setting as an example. Let's say you all get together and you assign one person to do the research, one person to make the slides, another person to draft the report, one person to edit the report. You've all have a task to do. You've broken it down. It makes it so much easier, and you can have check in to see if everyone's followed through responsibly. If you are struggling with burnout and having a lot of tasks to do, you can go to your manager or supervisor and say, hey, I'm coping with these tasks, but these other tasks I'm not. Can we assign them to someone else? So just think about this a little bit on where you can apply this in your life. Maybe you have a family member who can sit down with you, and maybe if you need help reading some papers, they can read a couple for you, make a summary, and then you can decide whether or not you're going to use it. There's a lot of ways of thinking about this and doing delegation. It's not so simple for me to break it down without examples, but I just want to reiterate again, you don't have to take on absolutely everything yourself. And we have a lot of advances in technology that enable us to do things without having to use much of our brains. We didn't have a calculator for quite some time, and now we do, and it makes things so much easier to actually use said calculator. Okay. All right, and then my final slide. Apologize, it's gone very quickly, but set some time for yourself in ways that you can enjoy. Um, I wanted to just briefly touch on how when we think of the word self-care, we think of things like taking a shower, having water, um, eating something. And I kind of just want to push back against that idea as self-care or me time because those are our basic needs. That is what we need to survive. When I say me time, I mean more than just surviving. I mean actually enjoying your time on this planet, having fun, maybe putting music in your life, just small things, big things, whatever it is that you need to make your life feel full. That's what I mean by me time. So, relaxing a bit and just resting, watching TV, I mean, that can be nice every now and again, but if you feel like you're only doing that at the end of the day, I don't feel that that's contributing to a very good work-life balance because you're spending more time just thinking about work and then not thinking about work as a distraction with the TV. It's not engaging in aspects of exploring yourself. So work life doesn't mean just work and rest. It means work and then having life around, things that happen, seeing friends, seeing family, going to the beach, going to the park, going maybe once to a carnival. I don't really know what you find fun or enjoyable, but think about what you're missing in your life, in your me time, and make some plans to engage in it. Maybe you haven't gone to a concert in a long time. Maybe you would like to do some mini golf. Just these little outings don't have to happen very often, but when you have them, they make your life feel more full. And that really tips the balance from just working into actually having a life. So, really incorporate play into your life as well. Maybe you like board games, card games, or maybe you like building Lego. Like there are things that we think are too childish, but not engaging in them is really just draining your life of joy. If you enjoy coloring in or building blocks, do it. It's in your free time, and no one's supposed to be there in your free time, so you can enjoy it however you want to. You don't need to judge yourself for engaging in something that you feel is a bit silly. You can just have fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun when you're in your me time, when you're alone with yourself. It's really good to do these things. Okay, so that about sums up my presentation. Thank you for coming. And I think my mentions are on the screen down below, but I think they're also in the Biocord group chat. I'll refer to it soon. If you have any questions, just put them in chat. I will answer them. I'll be here for the next 15 or so minutes. I apologize that this was a really short one. I didn't expect to go through it so quickly.